now it's
Right.
fine.
I probably can fix
He
that.
can fix it.
Thank you very well.
We will go ahead and ask Jeff a question rather than letting him fix the video. The state has mandated a shift to Common Core state standards and new testing that matches those standards. How will you help Sumner County transition to these new standards?
Well, first and foremost, the Common Core education system is something that's been fairly mandated by the federal government. And one of the things that, how's that? Yeah. So the state of Tennessee has to comply to those particular rules, whether you agree with Common Core or not. One of the things we have to do is ensure that Common Core is being tested properly, because if you go check the ACT or the SAT scores, Common Core is actually going to be applied to those. So if you're not following the Common Core standard in this aspect, whether you agree with it or not, it's going to be something that the children are going to be evaluated to. So we have to go through the process to make sure that we're going through and make sure the curriculum equals the Common Core requirements.
First place, if you ask people on the street, or they ask you, what's Common Core? 90% of them don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what it is. I'm one of them. Let me tell you, it all began in New York City back in 1892. A bunch of professors at Columbia College got together, and they would decide that here's a student that's taken 5, 6 courses, and he's not doing well in math, he's not doing too well in English. What we're going to do is pull this student out. We're really going to expound on those 2 subjects for this child. And lo and behold, after they tested him the second time, he had done much better. Now, where it went from there, I don't know where it went. But we have some good points and some bad points. But I'm not going to expound long on Common Core, because we've got a lot of good things that's going on. We have educators in there that knows what they're doing and how they're doing. So a school board member ain't got no business nosing into what Common Core does or how it works. You know, it is a fact that we have a lot of excellent teachers that knows how to teach. And one, two told me, said, let the teachers teach. And I get a little bit upset when I go in and see all kind of paperwork stacked on the desk, sent down from a federal government for these people to check and check, did you do this, did you do that, and just belabor their time instead of them being out in the hallways. One old principal that retired told me, the best thing to do for a principal is go down the hallway and talk to everybody, talk to the teachers, look in the classroom, see how they're doing. Then you'll know how it works. A school board member see a hole in the roof, he knows that building's got to be fixed. Well, get on the program, help assist it with the principal, help them get the thing fixed. Report back to the committee on what's going on and how it's going on. But if you don't have a full-time, if you have a full-time job and you won't be on the school board, I think you're going the wrong direction. Thanks, sir.
All right, we'll go with a new question for District 9.
I wanted to say something.
We were trying to give everyone a variety of questions to answer. So the question for Ms. Brown, if you are elected to the school board, what are your plans for being accessible to the community?
I think that will be determined by the things that we're discussing. It's just like the new school is supposed to go between Hendersonville and Station Camp. There will be opportunities there for feedback and input, I'm sure. And that will also, there are always graduations, there's always events. There's always groups like yours that want to know something or want to ask something. Number one is I've already started, I put up an email. I also will have something on Facebook so that I'm easily accessible. I don't mind telephone calls. You know, I just don't want one person calling me every day because I've had that with school before. But I don't mind answering questions. So my phone number was always available to my students and my faculty and everybody that I worked with. So I do not mind that at all. And I don't mind attending events. So I'll be readily available if someone needs me or has a good question they want answered. I'll tell you what I think. Probably more than you want to hear.
Can I just get everybody to make sure you hold the microphone up to your mouth because we are recording.
I'm usually so loud. I've tried.
That's okay.
I'll probably do better without the mic.
No, yeah, you need the mic. So if everybody will just make sure you hold it to your mouth. That's okay.
New questions for each district. So for District 7, we have a question for Mr. Ruth and Mr. Daniels. Why are you seeking a seat on the Sumner County School Board? What experience do you have that you feel would benefit the school board?
My clock hasn't started, we're kind of hung up. Do you mind repeating that, just focus on the board?
Why are you seeking a seat on the Sumner County School Board? And what experience do you have that you feel would benefit the school board?
Well, as indicated in my opening statement, I think a quality public education option benefits everybody. I've heard a lot of people say they're invested in the schools because they have kids in schools, and that's the ultimate investment. But there isn't anybody out there that doesn't benefit from, as I've said, a quality public education option. And whether you have, you got teachers that are invested, you've got staff that are invested, you've got administrators, and you got taxpayers that don't have any kids in school, but we're still receiving tax dollars from them, and they deserve a voice at the table. So that has generally been my approach, again, mentioning having been on the city council before. A big picture approach with the ability to identify sometimes the little thing that can make a big difference. As far as my experience, I raised 4 kids, effectively acted as, I don't even want to say that, I'm sorry, I started to say acted as principal at my home school, but it's not, it's a little overstated. But I did have the opportunity through that experience to see how important learning is, and providing the student the subject when they were ready to take the subject. I think we have taken the power away from the people who need it most, and that's the teachers, because there's no one right there on the front line like they are with the students. And to have taken away the authority they have to say, this kid just isn't getting it, they need it again. And this emphasis about test scores being a factor in the teacher's evaluation. I don't know if you saw it, but there was an article, a guest column in last week's News Examiner about a teacher who after 15 years is resigning because she was dubbed an ineffective teacher. And that's sad. That got me really hot. I'm thinking, my goodness, here's a woman who went to school for this, who has a passion about this. Frankly, there are some jobs that, well, time is ready. Sorry.
I think that every child has a dream. I know as a parent, you'll sit around with your kids and you'll say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And as they get older, we hear all kinds of changing answers. We were at a Mother's Day Out program. We heard everything from fireman to firefighter to a daddy to a teacher. My son at one point, I think, wanted to be a Lego inventor. But our children have dreams. And as they get older and they grow in our school system, they start thinking about their future and what they want to become and what they want to achieve. And I believe that we have a responsibility to make sure that we prepare them. The world's a lot different than it was when I was in high school. I was reading something a couple weeks ago, and it commented about how the iPod was first released in October of 2001. If you think about that, most of our middle school students have never lived in a world where the iPod didn't exist. It's just a different world. And we have to find ways to make sure that we're preparing them when they walk out of our schools to be competitive, whether that's attempting to attend a college against students from other states and other countries, whether they want a postgraduate career. We have to do everything we can to prepare them. I believe that's my passion. I look at my kids, I want to see them accomplish what they want to achieve. I want to see them to be able to walk out of our high schools and do whatever they want to do with their life. And that's why I've served on the board. As I think back to the past 4 years and what I've done in life, I think that from an experience standpoint, I've got a proven track record of leadership in business, a proven track record of leadership in my church, where I serve in our children's ministry, in our community, where I act as a T-ball coach, and then obviously on the school board. I think we've accomplished a lot over the past 4 years, and we've seen some significant progress in a lot of areas. And I believe that experience is valuable and will serve us well during the next 4 years. And I appreciate your vote on August the 7th. Thank you.
right, this question is for District 3, Mr. Long and Ms. Bachman. What is a needs-based budget? Are you willing to support a needs-based budget for Sumner County Schools?
Man, what a great question. Let me tell you, I'm certain almost every person in this room remembers 2012 when the majority of the school board made a decision and took a stand. For years, Ms. Cox, I know, can certainly attest to this, Mr. Gregory over there can, as well as the folks sitting up here who are currently on the school board. What is a needs-based budget? Well, you know, the reality is there are certain things in our school district that cost money. 87% of our budget goes to salary and benefits. That leaves us 13% to operate on. So what are things that we cannot control? We can't tell the electric company that, gosh, we know that you're charging us $6 million a year to pay our electricity bill, but we really don't have $6 million, so we're just going to give you about $2 million. It just doesn't work that way. Every 7 miles we drive one of our school buses costs us $4. It's a gallon of diesel fuel. For those that don't know, we drive our school buses the equivalent of 3 round trips from here to Los Angeles, California, and back every single day. Those are costs that we just can't say go away. So what are our needs? You know, our needs are we have to be able to pay our bills. We have to be able to create competitive salary and wages for our employees. That's what the needs are. And you know, one of the things that I asked repeatedly back during the 2012 issue, if you want to call it that, was at some point we have got to decide as a community, is good enough good enough? I don't think it is. We have the ability to fund our schools. It absolutely is going to have to become a priority in this community. It's going to have to. We have to stop saying, well, you know, that's good enough. That's good enough. That'll do. I like to use sports analogies because, you know, I watch my sons play football. And I can assure you, you pick your sport. There is absolutely not one single coach anywhere who's going to tell his team before a game, a match, an event, hey, boys, just go out there and take your time. Do what you do because you know good enough is good enough. That's not how you become winners. We're not going to become winners in Sumner County if we continue to settle for good enough. So we've got to have those needs-based budget and funds to do what it is we do.
I too agree with a needs-based budget because we need to provide the necessary tools for the teachers and the students to perform and to be able to meet the standards that are set for them. And it's very important because I agree with what Mr. Long said. We need to be able to meet our bills, pay the teachers a competitive salary in order to draw the best teachers that we can. Because of the reports that I have read, I've not had the hands-on experience that Mr. Long has, but some of the reports that I have read, it appears that we are a little behind here in Sumner County with our funding. And I believe that it's important. We need to educate our children. We need to be able to provide them and the teachers with the tools and the technology and have some decent upgraded facilities for them to be able to make them competitive and make the students be able to go ahead with their lives. So that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, for District 1, describe a healthy, productive relationship between the board and the director of schools.
Well, thank you for that question. You know, I know some of you probably were around when we had a different director of schools, and perhaps you recall the relationships that were in the media at that time if you were paying attention to school board issues then. So we've come a long way since then. I'm proud to have been sitting on the board and helping make the decision that brought Dr. Dale Phillips to Sumner County, and he's been a wonderful addition to the school board. I think every single school board member has a good working relationship with Dr. Phillips. I know that I call on him quite often and have concerns and suggestions, and we have just a wonderful relationship, and I think that that's of course very important in order to move the county forward. And also You know, when you're a school board member and someone approaches you with an issue or perhaps an idea, you know, your first contact is that director of schools. Truly, he is our only school employee. I know a lot of people think the board makes decisions down at this building level and gets into personnel issues, but truly we don't. It is the director of schools who's our only employee, so of course that's a very important relationship, and really just open communication is one of the major things that creates a good relationship between the director and the board, and trust. That's another huge one. You have to be able to trust the director of schools. You have to be able to trust what he's telling you and that that's the truth, and that if he tells you he's going to handle an issue, that he does handle an issue. And I trust Dr. Phillips implicitly. He's been a wonderful leader, and I'm happy to have him in Sumner County, and I'm happy to have just signed and finalized a new 4-year contract for him. So we're excited that he'll be with us for at least another 4 years, if not longer. Thank you.
Andy, you said productive and healthy relationship, and that would be between school board members and the director of schools. The basis of a healthy relationship is where there is communication between members and the director of schools. Communication. Communication is not a one-way street. It is 2 ways. So that a board member, yes, we have a great director of schools, and with respect, we look to him in that position, trust him. But then the director of schools, being in a situation where he trusts his board members, to where in situations that there's not a surprise budget that is placed before the board. When there have been study sessions and planning sessions with the board on a school budget, and a budget is presented where a school member, and I believe unbeknownst, as it was quoted in the paper, unbeknownst to Dale Phillips, that this budget was presented, which put the school board in a very awkward situation.
You live, feel like you made a mistake. And the even better news is that it is taping, so we will be able to capture this and show it later. For District 7, did you support the decision Sumner County School Board made in 2012 to close schools in order to make a stand for their presented budget? Did you attend county commission meetings during that time?
That's pretty simple. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. As I think back to 2012, the decision that we made to close or to not open the schools on time, and I get asked a lot, was that a tough decision to make? And the truth was, it wasn't a tough decision at all, because it needed to be done. I mean, for too long, we had settled for good enough, and we got tired of that. No longer did we want good enough to be good enough for our schools, our students, and our teachers. So that wasn't a hard decision to make, and I attended numerous board meetings, numerous county commission meetings, over those couple of weeks that we worked through the process. The truth is, the hardest decision that I had to make during that entire period of time, was a vote on the final budget. Because when we approved that budget, we approved the budget that didn't meet the needs for our school system. There were a lot of things that we had to leave out. Not a lot of people know this, but my uncle was employed with our adult education program. And when we had to vote on the final budget, I had to vote to cost my uncle's job. That's a hard decision sometimes to make, when you're looking at family and realizing that the decisions that you make have such an impact on others. But I made the decision I did because with the limited funding we had, those dollars had to be used for other things. And my uncle did lose his job, as I knew he would when I made that vote. Fortunately, he was able to land on his feet. He got a job in Metro. But I think that's what we want for our school board representatives. We want people that are willing to put others before self. We want people that are willing to make the hard decisions, not decisions made based on their own personal interests or what would benefit them. So thank you.
Did you support the decision the Sumner County School Board made in 2012 to close schools in order to make a stand for their presented budget? And did you attend county commission meetings during that time?
The answer to part 2 of that is no. The answer to the first part of it, I actually have to inquire, if I recall the history on that, that vote was taken on the night, on election night, after the polls were closed. Is that correct? Okay. This is where I could generate some groans, but I would have had a lot more respect for that decision had it been made in time for the voters to consider it in the election. Just thought that was a little bit inappropriate, frankly. Not arguing any issues that were going on at the time about the money, but I think the voters deserve to have had that on their mind, that decision to consider when they went to the polls that day.
All right, so now for a question for District 9. Okay, Ms. Brown, what activities or volunteer work have you been involved in with our schools? Do you feel it's important for a school board member to regularly visit the schools they represent?
I definitely think they should visit all the schools that they can. I don't know with the number of schools we've had how often you can visit. But I subbed at Schaefer, and over the years, since I retired, I've subbed at many schools, but basically Schaefer. So I have been in some of them. And the job I had as principal, I also had a job that involved alternative schools and several other things that Mr. Wright had me doing, where I actually was in. I've probably been in more schools than anybody else. I mean, other than, of course, people who that's their job. So I've been in a lot of the schools. I'm very familiar with a lot of the facilities. And a lot of things have changed law-wise, too, since I've been in. And need to find out what those are so we can make some changes. I definitely think everybody should volunteer and help anything that you can help. I like Safe Place for Animals. I've done some stuff with them. And it's not Second Harvest Food, the food thing we have to get onto, and several other things like that. But I'm willing to, whatever the needs are, all anybody has to do, they know I'm good at pitching in, doing whatever I need to do at the time.
All right, in our last round of questions, we'll go to District 11, and we'll start with Mr. Brown. Okay. Do you have children who have attended Sumner County schools or currently attend Sumner County schools? Very short question.
The question is yes. And I feel like at times when they come home asking for pictures and they come home asking for this and that and philo dough, I think I spent about $1.5 million a year on that stuff going back to school. But I love my grandkids, I'm willing to spend
May I
it.
have your attention, please? The library is closing in half an hour. Access to the public computers is restricted and the computers will shut down shortly. If you need to call for a ride, please come to the front desk and we'll help. Thank you.
Let me jump just a minute, Judge County. You know, the state of Tennessee mandates that you will have a school board in each county. And we are elected by the state of Tennessee. We're elected to fill that job. And it's your job to get out there and see the schools, feel the need, and find the need and fill it. That's easy to say, but hard to do. This county, the figures I have, this county is funding, they run about 4,000 drafts and checks every month. It's the largest employer of any company thrown together, probably 2 or 3 thrown together, that they have in this county. So the more money, we're not throwing money after money after money, but the money we send into the budget and all is not a drift away type thing. It goes back into the county, salaries and benefits and so on. There's 46 schools in this district, and I have 7 in my district. One of them is the old grade school in Westmoreland. I did meet with the Tennessee Technical people, and we brought in, we're doing classes there for now, nurses and dental hygienists and all that, training for those people. So we've done something with the old building, done something with stuff we had to do. And I'm proud of that. The very beginning, when we received the new privilege to get a new grade school in Westport, Tennessee, build a new grade school. Hank Thompson was a buddy of mine. He came up, we talked, he said, David, we got you number 9 on the list. So we had a meeting. Hank was heading this thing up on where we were going to be. I said, Hank, you got Westmore number 9 on the list. And you know, Hank, you came up here begging for votes. You got elected up here. You won by majority. And you got me number 9 on the list. He said, you're right. We're going to move you up to number 2. Now, is that politics? Yes, sir, it is. But so help me God, playing politics at the right time, at the right moment, is the greatest thing we can do. We've got a lot of things we can do with the money we have, sure. But when you make the budget, is that green or red?
That's right.
Well, I need another 30 minutes, but see me after the meeting.
Yeah. I think it was a rather simple question, right? So, my answer to that is yes. I have 3 lovely children that's went through the Westmoreland school system. I've got one that's, again, she's going to start to be her junior in college this year. I've got one that's a senior this year, and also I got one that is going to be a freshman in the high school. So I've got 3 lovely daughters that's went through the school system, and now again, it's been a better experience for me, for my children. Although, contrary to popular belief, I'm not just a beginner at this process. I actually am a pure professional. I intend on helping the school system with my knowledge to be able to help. One of the questions, a little time here because of the question, one of the questions that was on the flyer was, how can we help the actual schools? And how can we help morale with the actual teachers? Part of that could be through video conferencing. I mean, one of the things cheap cameras, you can go out and buy a cheap camera at Best Buy and allow the teachers to interact with the director of schools or administrative staff through a process that can be a weekly process or a monthly process. So it can be something we can contribute back to the teachers, get the morale back up, to be able to help them out. That process, through a process of technology, can help us, along with several things like an example, Kansas City. Kansas City has got a wonderful program where they hand a Mac Airbook to seniors and juniors in high school. And when you look at that process, they insure those devices, so if they're broken, they're actually replaceable. Now, do I think we're going to replace books with a PC? Not just yet. But when you look at some of our classes where we can actually go through that process and place a computer in kids' hands, we can actually start helping them with technology, improve them, and get them ready for the actual business world, which is where I come from. Thank you.
All right, let's give a round of applause to all these candidates. We appreciate all of you being here. A couple really quick announcements. We will, to the best of our ability, put that video on our website and our Facebook page. We also have candidates turning in surveys, which are due today. So they will either fill that out online or turn in a hard copy. We will put those on our website so you can see what the candidates have to say, both in writing and at this event. And thank you all for coming.